So we're going to play a few tunes in a little bit that are from her first recording with Folkways, Call and Response. And so I'd just like to hear a little bit about how that came to be.
So Ella's first recording came out in 1957, which is kind of a banner year for folk music in Ella's life and in Chicago. It's also the year that the Old Town School of Folk Music was founded near North Side here in Chicago, and Ella was immediately involved with that organization as well. Ella had been working with teenagers at YWCA in Chicago and had been making music with them as one of the kind of activities and planning programs with them. And she worked with doo-wop groups, and she had a Latin club where she was teaching Latin rhythms and I think a little bit of Spanish and Spanish songs. Any activity she could work music into, she was doing that with these kids. I think they performed outside a lot when the weather was good. And things kind of started to take off for Ella when somebody who worked at the public television station in Chicago, which was then a brand new station, saw her on the street and said, "Oh, you're great with these kids. We have a children's show we just started called Totem Club. You should come on to the show." And Ella had already been performing some publicly before then. She had befriended Big Bill Brunzi. She was friends with Pete Seeger at that point, just from being in the Chicago music scene and soaking things up and then performing in turn. But I think it's around this time that the light bulb kind of goes off and she says, I want to try this professionally. So she recorded songs on a demo and sent them to Mo Ash, who ran Folkway Records in New York. And Mo was impressed with it. Ella had also, at this point, befriended Odetta. As the story goes, they're meeting in New York as she's on her way to meet Mo. And Odetta says, "Don't forget to ask for your royalties."
That's great.
So Ella goes in, not really completely sure of what that meant, but she met with Mo. He says he wants her to record an EP. And she says, "Well, what about the royalties?"
Good for her.
Yes. And I think Mo was not used to folks being so forward. And he said, "Okay, fine. Well, we'll figure out the royalties." So she records the album here in Chicago with students that she'd been working with at that time. And it came out in 1957 on Folkway Records. And it was the first of many, many, many
Many records, yeah.